Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We'll begin in just a couple minutes. I want to give everyone, let's say like 30 seconds or so more, just some time to join, and then we'll get our webinar kicked off. Please let me know if you're having any issues in the chat with audio or anything like that, and we'll begin shortly. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I think we might have a couple more people kind of trickle in, which is great. Hello and welcome. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm so glad you're all here to join us on how and learn a little bit more on how to get the most value out of your event marketing leads. My name is Corinne Stratton and I'm the head of marketing here at Banzai. You know, at Banzai, we work hard to give you the tools and the resources you need to produce great marketing events. I will provide some more details at the end of today's presentation to let you know more about Banzai and how we can support your events, specifically around getting the right people in the room after today's webinar. But really what I want to spend the majority of our time today is to focus on really the role follow-up plays in getting the most out of your event marketing leads. And just a little reminder, today's webinar is being recorded. You will get a copy of the recording after today's webinar, and feel free to share that. And then you'll also get a copy of our featured resource, which I'll be sharing towards the end of this webinar. We have a takeaway for you that I want to make sure you and your team utilize. So our goal today is to give you the tools and the tips to establish a well thought out follow-up plan that really capitalizes on the quality of leads you get from your event marketing program. Over the next 20 or so minutes, we're going to try to keep this pretty quick for you, maybe even give you a little time back on your calendar. But we want to cover a few things. We want to cover how you can align with your sales team, at every step of your event's journey, before the event, during the event, and after your event. It is so important to be on the same page from the very start, and I know it's often easier said than done. We'll also cover how to set yourself up and your team up for success by having a well thought out follow-up plan that's kind of already in motion before your event even kicks off. And we'll also talk about the importance of event content. You get so much valuable content from your event, and there's a great way to extend its shelf life. So we definitely want to discuss that today. And finally, like I said, we'll go over we have a Banzai follow-up checklist that everyone will get a copy of. So we'll take a quick look at that as well. Okay. So we all know events matter. I mean, we wouldn't be here really if we didn't think that was the case. But I just really want to reiterate how valuable they can be. And you can see that here with this statistic from ThoughtSpot. So ThoughtSpot is a data analytics company, and they've seen 33 to 55% of their qualified leads come from their events. This is it's huge. And it shows that events have the power to drive quality leads. And it's really up to us as marketers to make sure they don't slip through the cracks. Okay, so really let's take a couple minutes to focus on sales and marketing alignment. It's really crucial to an event's success. So if you've been on one of these webinars before, one of our webinars, you've probably seen this stat. It's really one of my favorites. I think it's really important and worth repeating. And to be honest, you'll probably see it on another webinar because I just think it's that good. So the Harvard Business Review, in partnership with Splash, released a research report last year titled The Event Marketing Evolution. And they found that among those who attend an event, the number of days to close averaged 49 days. but those who did not attend the event averaged 65 days to close. So event attendance reduced the sales cycle by 25%. Again, this just shows how important events are in the sales life cycle and the sales funnel. So what can you do to make sure you are aligned with your sales team and working to reduce your sales cycle by that 25%? We have a couple things here that we recommend, and it's really, to tell you the truth, it's about having an open dialogue with your sales team from the very start. You're setting those expectations from the beginning. Sales and marketing really needs to be on the same page around a few of these items, and probably a few more, to be honest. But really, it's looking at how past events have performed. Again, set those expectations from the beginning. What can you expect in terms of lead generation from your event? Have leads turned into opportunities? Have they turned into closed won deals before, based on events like this? And then where does the event registrant really fit in the sales funnel? You need to understand, like, are they kind of at the awareness stage, or where are they? And that really then changes your messaging, changes what type of event it is, and it changes how you interact with your leads. And kind of on the same page, the overall goal of the event. If it's an awareness event, your goal is going to be really different, right? It's to start adding to your pipeline. But if your attendees are highly qualified leads that are ready to buy, again, the type of event you're throwing or you're putting on might be of a different caliber. And then, of course, the follow-up plan. We'll talk more about that later, but you and the team really needs to be on the same page of who owns what when it comes to lead follow-up after your event. And then I, for one, totally believe we could all use less meetings in our life, but I really do find value in hosting a kickoff meeting with your internal stakeholders to make sure everyone is prepared. Like I said, those expectations are set from the very beginning. So during your event, again, this alignment is crucial because your nurture process, your nurture campaign can start or really continue as soon as the first attendee walks through the door. In order to do this and to make sure that you are working your leads, roles and responsibilities need to be clearly outlined and understood from the beginning. Everyone from your team that is attending this event needs to have some sort of job, some sort of responsibility, some way they are impacting your event's goal. This includes your CEO. This includes your VP of marketing, whatever executive is there. If they're there, give them a job. Maybe that is speaking at your event. Maybe that is, making a few connections, but make sure they all know how they're contributing to your event's goal. And then this is also a really great opportunity to facilitate introductions and meetings between your guests and your sales reps, because in all honesty, you're the one that's probably had the most interaction with your registrants, right? You've helped them register, you've answered their phone calls, you've talked to them through their questions. They probably have more of a relationship with you than they do with the sales rep yet. So take this time, meet with your sales team beforehand, like we said, figure out what contacts, what leads they really want to connect with, and support them by facilitating those conversations, giving them access to meeting space, and making sure they're really, again, kind of theme of the day, set up for success. All right, just quickly check in chat, making sure everyone's good. So after your event, this is really when the work starts. I know you've been working hard this whole time, and there's a good chance you're like, okay, I just want to be done. But now is really the time to make sure your sales reps are prepped with the tools they need to escalate and hopefully close some of these deals. Every event is really created with a problem or a challenge in mind, right? You are bringing together your prospects so you can help solve one of their business challenges. So work with the sales team to determine how they can continue to provide solutions to your registrants long after your event is over. So things to consider would be, what event collateral can they provide to your registrants? What can you give them that they can then give to the attendees and those that are registered? Is there a community your attendees can join? Maybe there's a LinkedIn group. Maybe there is an online community that they should be aware of. Again, arm your sales team with this so they can continue the conversation with your registrants. And then, of course, are there future events that your sales team needs to be aware of that they can share with their prospects, to continue that conversation with them? Maybe this is a quarterly event. Maybe there's a user group, something like that. So make sure your sales team just has all the information they need to keep that conversation going. So one of the worst feelings, I think, is really when you wrap up an event and realize, like, shoot, I still need to write thank yous, I have to draft and send follow-up content, I have to get sales the attendee information they need for their follow-up. So my recommendation is just like, don't be that person. And I know that's hard. It's hard for me. I'm that person quite a bit. So it's easier said than done. But I think there's a lot of things that we can do to set yourself up for success. So the event's over and you're really letting everything happen, automatically. So I love to take a minute and to get some feedback from you. Certain did a really interesting study a few years back about the time it takes to follow up on a lead after an event. So I want to show you their findings because I find them very interesting. But before that, I want to take a quick poll of this group and see where the group is with their lead follow-up time. So hopefully everyone can see that. Take a minute and submit. Are you the same day? Does it take you 1 to 3 days, 4 to 6 days, 7 to 13 days, or more than 2 weeks? Okay, we see some answers coming in. Let's give it a couple more seconds. Okay, great. Well, it looks like most of you voted. Thank you very much. So it looks like we have about 38% that are 4 to 6 days from this group, pretty closely followed by 34% at 1 to 3 days. 3% same day, and then 17%, 7 to 13 days. And then we do have a group, 7%, that's more than 2 weeks. So thank you for your feedback. This, I think, it kind of closely mirrors what Certain saw. So going back to that. So as you can see here, they do kind of mirror in terms of kind of the majority of 4 to 6 days. They surveyed, just to give you a little bit of background, they surveyed 150 marketing decision makers. And they did find that the majority of marketers took up to 4 days to follow up with their event leads. Only 2% of those surveyed followed up the same day. Again, I think we were at about 3%. And most claimed that the reason it took longer to follow up was because of the amount of time it takes to prepare leads for the follow-up after the event. There's a lot of cleaning lists, making sure your sales team has the right information about each lead. So we really want to talk about, okay, how do we reduce that time? How do we become more of the same day or the 1 to 3 days by automating and by preparing as much as possible before your event takes place? We all know that the general rule of thumb of contacting inbound leads, when someone fills out a form on our website or something like that, we're trying to connect with them in less than 5 minutes. Some people are even at that, that 60-second mark. I know that's not possible with events, right? But that same urgency should be applied. How can you speed up the process so your leads don't become stale? So our first tip here is to do as much as you can, like I said, ahead of time. Have your follow-up marketing emails drafted and ready to hit send as soon as your event is over. Ideally, you'll have 2 or more versions with a specific message for those that attend and those who do not attend. Again, this may seem simple and obvious, but it's so easy to let this slip. I've been in your shoes where the event's over or the event is just so busy, right? And I just need to put something off until the event is over. And oftentimes that's follow-up. If you can take the time to prep beforehand, you'll be in such a better, state of mind, but also just you'll be in a better position to really capitalize on these leads. Don't find yourself writing your copy on your flight back home, which I know I've been there. So as much as you can do ahead of time, do it. And you've heard me say this a couple times, automate, automate, automate. Does your event technology really help you simplify your process? Does your check-in app or badge scanner integrate with your CRM? Can your salespeople tell in real time whether or not someone attended? If not, they should be able to, and you should be looking for technology that helps you do that because it makes the whole process easier and more efficient. And workflows are also an incredible tool and should be really utilized at every stage of your event process. Once those emails are drafted, set the triggers that sends your follow-up based on attendance status, right? They get this email because they attended, and now they are now part of this nurture. We cannot talk about this enough, but a clear call to action is so important in all marketing outreach post-event. What's really important too, I think, is giving your leads the ability to, and kind of empower them to connect with your sales rep on their own terms, right? Your sales team will probably be doing their own follow-up, connecting with them, but give your leads the opportunity to maybe book that demo, set that calendar invite, and so that they're able to really do it on their own terms, on their own schedule. And then, of course, prep your registration list as much as you can before your event. Now, I do realize some things will take time, right, after your event, but as much as you can do beforehand will set you up for success. And this means having a clear understanding of the information the sales team really needs to know in order to reach out to your attendees. Do they need to know whether or not someone attended a session and which session they attended? Maybe they do. Maybe that impacts their messaging and how they contact them. But also maybe they don't, and they just need to have like name, phone number, email, and where they're from. So understand that because you might be able to save yourself some much needed time. So moving on to content. Events have the ability to produce so much valuable content for both you, your full marketing team, and your sales team. So really, don't let this content go to waste. Coming out of an event, you often have a variety of content you can use to stay engaged with your registrants. Even if you put on a 90-minute executive dinner, or maybe you did a movie premiere with a product demo or something like that, you'll still have content you can repurpose for other channels and really use to continue, again, that kind of common theme, continue the conversation with your leads. So here's just a brief look at the type of content that might come out of your event. You have your presentations, you have recordings, maybe photos, on-site interviews and videos and testimonials, any sort of product announcement that you made. Sometimes speakers will include great takeaways in their slides, something for your guests. Make sure you have access to that. And also sponsor information. Turns out if you did maybe put on a day conference with some sponsors, they probably had a lot of great information that your attendees, maybe they didn't get a chance to stop by their booth, they might want to learn more about. And then just a thing to keep in mind, especially when it comes to sharing content, make sure your speaker has really given you that written permission to use their materials if you go that way of presentations or recordings, that they've given you permission to use those materials in sales and marketing tools. This one can really hurt if you decide to kind of go that ask for forgiveness instead of permission route. So just think about that. There's great ways to track it. A simple content release form is a really nice tool to have, and it makes this sharing process post-event really easy. And if you have that all figured out, again, when you're having that kickoff meeting, that will just make this process a lot more seamless. So I just wanted to give you a brief example of how you can utilize content to, again, further that conversation. I think you can see all in this chart. I believe everything can be repurposed into a blog. So whether you have a keynote, a customer presentation, on-site interviews, you can probably write about it and feature it on your website. They are also, like, a customer presentation is really a great thing to feature in a newsletter. Why don't you turn it into a case study, some piece of downloadable content? Feature it in your newsletter, feature it as a customer testimonial. A keynote, maybe you had someone really incredible take the stage that you want to talk about. You should feature that in a press release. Let the world know. Event photos, again, those can go anywhere, but they're really great on social. So we recommend taking some time before your event, get a better idea of what type of content is going to be produced, and start creating a plan. Work with your content team, work with your other marketing teams about how you can repurpose it throughout your different marketing channels. So finally, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the resource that you'll have after our call or after our webinar today. It's a checklist that ideally you can use to help guide your follow-up and help you hit those milestones you need to make sure you and your team are really set up for success and get the most out of the leads you worked so hard to get to attend in the first place. We don't want them to go stale. It's a huge deal that they showed up to your event. So let's make sure that contact and that conversation going forward is really valuable. So this checklist, it's simple. Ideally, it's just a one-pager you can print out or you can use digitally. Put it on your desk to keep track of your follow-up plans post-event. You know, make sure you have finalized your goals. Make sure you've drafted those emails for the nurture like 2 weeks out. Get the final plan from sales. What are they doing in terms of their outreach? What are they going to do once you give them your final list? Understand that, so make sure that you're properly supporting one another. Create that event catalog about 1 week out. Get approval, of course, to share the speaker's content. Handwritten thank you notes are an important thing to remember for your events. Maybe you're thanking your speakers, your host, something like that. Get those drafted ahead of time. Get ready to put those in the mail the day you get back to the office. And of course, make sure your nurture and everything is activated and ready to go. So that's really everything we have for you today. I know we have some time left, so if anyone has any questions, I'll open it up and then I'll chat with you a little bit more about who Banzai is. So feel free, if anyone has any questions, to put that in the question box or the chat box. In the meantime, just a little bit about Banzai. You know, our goal is to support professionals in fulfilling their potential by connecting them to new ideas and to each other through educational B2B events, both virtual and in-person events. We do this by automating your event marketing lifestyle. We'll really focus on the front end of your event and getting those qualified leads based on your target audience to register and ideally to attend. We handle the invitation process, the registration process, and the confirmation process. So if this is something that you're interested in learning more about, you know, let me know. I'd love to talk to you more about what Banzai does and how we can really help make sure the right people are in the room or on the webinar for your next event. And you know, it doesn't look like we're getting too many questions, or really any questions. So again, you can reach out to me after today. Happy to answer any questions you have. If you are interested in learning more, feel free to book a demo with the team, connect with me, and I can definitely get that set up. And we are here to help in all your event marketing needs. Thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, and I hope you all have a great rest of the week. Thank you.